All right. This is Nifty Culture. I'm Pio. I'm here with my partner Mal and our special guest, Mr. Sven at Sven_NFT on Twitter. How's it going, Sven?
Going pretty well. Good morning, guys.
Morning. So for people that don't know, you're a big time collector of NFTs, both in the fine art space and, more recently in the collectible space. So, we're really happy to have you on. We want to get an idea of what your thoughts are on the current climate of specifically the collectible space, because it's been commanding a lot of attention, both inside in a little bit of a polarizing way. I wouldn't say fully polarizing, but a little bit of a polarizing way. But more importantly, it's attracting attention, big attention from outside of the space. So I just want to take it from the top with you. What are your thoughts on what's going on right now?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, guys. It's always a pleasure to get on with you. And, look, it's a really exciting time, I think, for all of us in the NFT space, just where we are overall in terms of art had a big run up. Now collectibles are seeing a big run up, getting a lot of attention. And I think there's some similarities and differences to what's going on. But very specifically, right now we've had an awesome week for collectibles, a number of really exciting projects. And there's a couple more on the horizon that, I definitely want to talk about because, you can feel the excitement in the Twitter space and across Discords. I hope it doesn't border on too much euphoria in places, because there's an element of that. But there's a lot of really good work being done. So looking forward to chatting with you guys about this. One thing I got to say though, it's funny. You mentioned I started in art and have done more in collectibles recently. It wasn't intentional. It's just that art onboarded me, right? I was able to use credit card spending and just buying art became really easy. It onboarded me into the space. I was interested in collectibles. I became aware of CryptoPunks, and then they rapidly became unattainable to me. Just something I didn't have the ETH to do it. And so, over time, I've built that up and I've been able to dabble. Still really enjoying the art, but collectibles are definitely having their moment right now, and it's important that we recognize that there's a place for both, and that's what's great. NFTs started with art and collectibles. There are many other things coming, down the pike, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But right now, I'm excited to talk about collectibles.
For sure. And so to give people context, right, I think that this collectibles kind of hype train that we're on right now, whatever you want to call it, this massive, influx of new collectibles projects, influx of money, either from existing NFT holders or new NFT holders, was really sparked. We were talking about it off camera, by the Bored Ape Yacht Club's, innovative approach to the space. Even though Bored Ape Yacht Club's structure was inspired by the OG, the most OG crypto or NFT project, CryptoPunks, there was a lot of innovation that Bored Ape Yacht Club put forward that really paved the way for what's going on now. And now that we've seen so many new projects come in, I think we can look back at Bored Ape Yacht Club and really look at it a little bit like Full just don't have an ape. So I'm speaking, as someone that doesn't have an ape, but just someone that
we got to change that.
I mean, of course, I'm waiting for my move, but I really look at that project and I'm like, wow, they just nailed it. They really, really nailed it, and they're continuing to nail it. And it's inspired so many projects, some nailing it, some not. So I know a project that you aped into recently that you're very bullish on, that you like a lot, is the Cranium project. Do you want to talk a little about that?
Yeah, well, look, first, you're exactly right that, and we should give credit and we should talk about this, that apes started this wave of collectibles, and they're not even 2 months old. So the space moves very quickly. I can only imagine how many projects are being developed right now that were inspired by apes and will come out in the next 2 to 4 months, right? I mean, what we're seeing now, there's some very good projects. There's some not so good projects. There's going to be so many more too. And so, we should talk about how to identify the ones that are worth doing, because there's going to be too many to keep track of. There's already too many to keep track of. And it's also important to recognize, you're exactly right that, apes, they owe a lot also to the OGs, to CryptoPunks. Everyone right now, CryptoPunks probably aren't as hot. I don't think anyone should argue that CryptoPunk looks better than an ape, right? I mean, an ape is really visually appealing, and CryptoPunk is a little bit basic, but it's also super cool. And I want a punk. I don't have a punk. I would like a punk. So the punk folks out there who see this, I'm not saying anything negative about punks, but I think punks laid the roadmap for everything, and then apes showed really what you can do if you check all the right boxes on that roadmap and expand beyond that. So what did apes get right? Right. First and foremost, they got whether you want to say it's art or just say the overall aesthetic, they absolutely nailed that. It's super visually appealing. It's catchy. Importantly, it works really well as a profile picture. So it checked that box. And it's interesting. I actually bought one ape in the presale. They only did about 500 apes in the presale, and it was they were posting tribute apes, in the lead up to it. And I kept seeing stuff on Twitter, and they're posting stuff for people in the space to try to catch an influencer or two's eye. And so I bought one in the presale, excited for the reveal, got my reveal, didn't love it. I was like, oh, it's cool, but it's not my favorite. So I just started buying, and I didn't have a ton of ETH, but I bought 6 or 7 in the end. And I was really happy with what I got. I didn't realize that they were all in the kind of mid-tier range. And then I traded for my profile picture, Mr. Ape Hefner. I traded one of my favorite NFTs, the Let Anime, for it. And appreciate that I was able to get that done, and went to sleep because there were about 1,200 sold at that point. And I thought, well, maybe I could get some ETH in the morning and get it. And of course, we know what happened. They rapidly sold out overnight. Thanks, Pranksy. And the rest is kind of history. But there was an opportunity. A lot of people saw this like me, and they didn't buy in, right? So the aesthetic alone isn't enough. What happened was, when people got them after the reveal, they got really excited about them. And so once they got excited about them, a community started building around the apes. And, you can actually go into a lot of these Discords and nobody really scrolls all the way up. But if you go to the beginning, it's quiet. It's a slow build. And you get more and more people popping in who say like, oh, I can't wait. They're telling their friends, inviting them in. And suddenly it's, okay, like it's frothy, right? And everyone's just like chomping at the bit to get in. And now it's when's drop. I mean, go look at the Bulls Discord right now. That's all people ask. And I'm like, guys, chill out. They're going to tell you when the drop is. So apes got the aesthetic, and they built the community. But I think that alone wasn't enough, because you need a couple other components. You needed developers who were really committed to building it beyond that. And the recent actions by the Ape team, I mean, those guys are awesome. Like for people that just built something out of nothing, the way they've handled things every step of the way has been super impressive, and cannot give them enough credit for being really good ambassadors for the space. And they did something really smart that opened up so many possibilities, which was they gave everyone their commercial rights. And you see now what people are doing with that, whether it's some people just want to make derivatives of their own ape. Some people are launching businesses. We got Stu on billboards. We got, coffee businesses coming up. We got, apes and comics. Mine wasn't selected, but, go figure, not in taste, I suppose. But it's all really cool. And I'm so happy that people continue to embrace it. Apes got a lot right. They are awesome, and new projects are coming along that are both copying some of what they've done, and that's the most sincere form of flattery, but also expanding and building upon that. And that's why I'm excited for the future of the space, because it's going to keep being, copies, similar projects, and then you're going to see something take what apes did, like apes took what punks did, and build and expand and pivot in a different direction. So that's kind of bringing us to where we are today.
Really quick before we hop onto that, I just want to hop in and talk about just a couple of things that I loved about everything you just said, where, at first everyone was talking about the apes being the poor man's CryptoPunk, and that was partially true. But I also think when you think about the utility building, the fact that there was or community building, there was that small utility component where it wasn't much, but because you had an ape in your MetaMask, you could go in, you could draw on the wall, and that got people excited. And then they did that merch drop, which sold out in 5 minutes. I was really upset. Like, I'd love to be spending my summer by the pool with some of that Bored Ape Yacht Club merch. It's incredible. And, you know, the other piece of, you see things like Ted Chin with their drop on Nifty Gateway, and they're putting Easter eggs of not just the OG Nifty Gateway or blue chip artists. Like, there's apes as a lot of these Easter eggs and a lot of other projects. And then, you know, Nest Graphics with that masterpiece. And I think you actually were you were given one of those. I bought mine retail, but I thought like that was if I'm wrong, forgive me, but like that was a masterpiece from Nest Graphics. It was my first piece from Nest, and I'm a big fan of that, and it's really cool.
Yeah, well, so to be clear, I also paid the same price retail. Okay. I was very fortunate, and Ness is such an awesome guy. You know, our little collective has a 1-of-1 from Ness, which is an incredible piece. But you know, Ness did something really cool one night. Just said, post 10 apes, I'll put them in a piece. Well, he got tons of responses. And earlier, he'd actually said, should I do this? And I said, definitely. And then I didn't check Twitter for a couple hours, and I saw he picked the 10 apes, and I said, oh my God, I can't believe I missed this. And he said, I'll make an exception. So I was ape number 11 in the piece. And then somehow 40 other apes ended up in the piece. But I think he just had so much fun with it. And you know, look, he didn't do it all on his own. You know, he partnered, I believe, with Danny to do the 3D ape as well. And if I'm wrong about that, you know, please correct me. But it's an awesome piece. So happy to have bought it, and it sold out instantly. And you know, just shows the commitment of the ape community. You know, you mentioned, you know, what Ted did. I'm very lucky because you know, Ted, another one of my favorite artists, he actually popped my ape into his profile background, and now I see tons of people doing that. But you know, Ted just said one night, "Hey, send me these, awesome fun." And you know, Ted being a great part of the community across all platforms, but you know, has really embraced the apes as well. So a lot of good things were built upon this, and it was giving people the freedom to do what they want with the community. The devs don't control the community; the collectors and the ape holders do. And so that's been really awesome. There have been a lot of attempts to replicate that. Most of them have, you know, been substitute an animal, you know, change club for whether it's, I don't know, gang or different type of club. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. Some of them are better than others. Gutter Cat Gang, I thought, did a really good job. They made it much more exclusive. Some people really like those, and they're holding strong. You know, others, honestly, I can't keep track how many pandas are releasing right now. And I'm sure all the pandas will duke it out for supremacy. And if you're into pandas, that's awesome. But you know, along came a project that I think took some people a bit by surprise. And that was the Wicked Craniums project that released you know, earlier this week. You know, Craniums is a little bit different for those that aren't familiar. I'm not sure how you haven't seen it yet. If you're watching this stream, you probably know Cranium. But it's basically, you know, skeletons, and the skull is the feature. But it's a more edgy, I'd say a little bit less cartoon-like version of apes, and it didn't replicate with an animal. It did it in a different way. I'm sure by the time Halloween rolls around, if craniums are still firing, they will be we'll be having a lot of fun with them. You know, a lot of people said I'm going to go as hot as my ape for Halloween. I think craniums might give them a run for their money on that. But they cater to different audiences. They also dropped it at a really fortunate time. You know, obviously apes provided a big infusion into the market with the Bored Ape Kennel Club. And that provided a huge influx of capital into a lot of collectors' hands. And they have been spending that capital on different projects, Cranium being one of the big recipients. I mean, it sold out in 30 minutes. To be honest, I wasn't as sure that people would embrace Craniums just I didn't know how many people really enjoyed the skeleton aesthetic. I liked it. I said the art is really impressive. I mean, if you pull up one of the psychedelic craniums, I mean, the detail on that is awesome. And here you had people who I regretted not getting a trippy ape. I mean, I thought about it for a long time, and then they quickly became unobtainable for me. But I said, oh, I can get it. I can get a psych. And so in the secondary, I saw one, and I pretty quickly bought it. Something kind of cool happened that I realized that it was a 3-trait cranium. I got to talk about that for a second, because I definitely talked a lot about it on Twitter this week. But a lot of projects, if they are lacking an attribute, they will just leave it blank. What the craniums did was they actually filled it in. So if you didn't have eyes, it wouldn't just not show an eye attribute. It said no eyes. If you didn't have clothes, it would say naked. Bald for no head attribute, and for your mouth, it would be plain or no mouth accessory, because they also had 2 different body types, open or closed. And early on, people didn't know what that was, and then they realized, oh, the O is not a typo. It's really rare. So it gave some time for people to actually figure out attributes in the secondary, and that's what I did. I scooped up pretty early on. I scooped up 6 of what turned out to be, I didn't even know, only 15 3-trait craniums. And so I built a good collection. Rarity Tools came out overnight, and 2 of my 6 got bought. I said, oh, that's not cool. So I bought 2 more. So I built a pretty cool collection, but I didn't go huge. I have a friend who bought over 100, and he's still holding a bunch, but he's had great returns, because even at the floor, these things have done a 5X already. So massive adoption. They're close to, I think, about 2.8 thousand unique holders right now. I'm sure by the end of the weekend we'll eclipse 3K. That's really good diversity for a project. And
it's actually sandwiched by the apes in the kennel. Like, it's number 2 on the 7-day trading on OpenSea, which is nuts.
I mean, that's incredible for a project that wasn't nearly as buzzed about. And so, look, what did they get right? They got the aesthetic right, and I was not right about this early on. More people than I realized dig the aesthetic. So it's an awesome aesthetic. Everyone really digs it. Number 2, right? They get the community building aspect down. So the Discord, as you've seen grow throughout the week, it's a love fest for craniums. People are taking it off Discord as well. They're using them as profile pictures. Some people actually point out to the devs that, the profile picture, it's a little bit smaller. They sit kind of high in the screen. And this is something projects to learn from. You want to make sure that it's not just great art. It sits really well as your avatar. And so the devs got some feedback, and they're awesome guys. I went and talked to them a little bit, and they're putting out, downloadable files for people that they can tweak it a little bit if they want, or, change the background. It's really, they've been really helpful, and the community is embracing that. Same thing like with that Ted did with my ape. People are putting them in new backgrounds. I made a little banner. I mean, if I can do it, anyone can do it. So, people are having a lot of fun. I spent a fair bit of time in that Discord this morning, just talking to folks and letting them know I was going to be chatting about this, and everyone's just excited. Which is something really, really nice to see. I mean, Nate Rusk, if you know him, he's forming the Cranium Fire Club. You got people out there who are really embracing the Kings, and really enjoy the Royal vibe. A lot of people really like the thematic matches. With whether it's doctors, you got the firemen again, pilots, sailors. I mean, there's some really cool thematic matches in there. So they just check a lot of boxes. And now I think you're going to see people start to do the derivatives that apes were doing. And so I am certain that there'll be a Cranium comic as well, and so forth. So I'm excited to see what they build. I'm enjoying it so far. And if the community keeps growing like this, there's no reason they can't follow the ape trajectory. Last point on this that's really key. It wasn't just that apes got an infusion capital and that helped them from a timing perspective. it's that apes really got to be unobtainable, just like punks were for a lot of people. And so craniums were now the new project, and people said, "Oh, I miss apes." Now they don't want to miss craniums, and so let's hope they continue that path. But it's been really fun.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, like, I think that everything that you said is definitely valid for craniums. The one point that I really want to talk about is when it comes to a successful project, I think that the aesthetic is so important, right? And I think that goes without saying. The Bored Apes have a ton of attitude. They have a ton of swag. Like, it's a really good looking project. The Gutter Cats, which is another one that did fairly successful, I mean, very successful really as an avatar project. Again, they have a lot of character. They're just cool, right? They're cool. The craniums, these things are cool, right? The NFT space is full of edgy people, like rebellious people, people that come from crypto. So when you look at it now in hindsight, it's easy to tell why the craniums would be popular. I hate to do this. I hate to bash, the Super Yeti, right? It's not as cool. Like, I don't really think that people are like super jazzed up. Maybe if you were like a kid and they marketed it for kids, that would be a different story. But when you look at aesthetic, those three projects, and definitely craniums especially, have this really cool aesthetic. Like, this guy's got this cool skull t-shirt on, psychedelic, and then this wild hat. Like, it's just a different story. And obviously the community, all that kind of like the development, that's super duper important too. But the aesthetic comes first. People have to like how it looks. People have to be proud to make it their profile pic and think it's a cool thing.
No, exactly right. I will say that I think that there are a lot of projects people get excited about, right? And some will fizzle, and we can talk about why some of those fizzle and whether or not that excitement is really genuine or just people see potential profit and it manifests in the same kind of, oh my God, we're going to go to the moon. I mean, this project's the next, greatest thing ever. I talked to a couple people who all said the same thing, which was something I felt when I was getting the apes early on, which was, well, I think it has potential and I want to make money with this project, but if it doesn't, I'm okay holding this ape because I love it. And so now you're getting that with craniums, where it's, people obviously have a profit motive for a lot of what they're doing here, but I think it's going to be a great project. If not, I have an awesome cranium and I'm going to really enjoy it. I mean, like I paid, 3.5 ETH for a couple of mine, and there's nobody is spending, a couple ETH thinking I want it to not succeed. But my view was, I mean, I got the laser eye, the only 3-trait laser eye naked guy. I mean, he is awesome. And if it did go to zero, I'm cool with that. I will rock with that guy. Or that might be me in 50 years, but I will rock with that guy, forever, because he just looks awesome. And so when you get that type of feeling in a project, nobody said with their Yetis, well, if this doesn't work, I'm going to keep all my Yetis. What have people done? Thank God OpenSeas lets you hide your NFTs now, because they're all hidden. I mean, I got one Yeti left. I didn't go hard on that project. I just did it because some friends were, and I said, all right, I'll do a couple. Didn't really like it. I'm going to send my last Yeti to somebody that pisses me off. And no Yetis. I'm sure Yetis are great people, but they look terrible. The rarities were terrible. I mean, you got to get the rarities right too. We haven't talked about that, but you got to get the right diversity of attributes. And I don't know what Yetis were thinking with, all right, we're going to build it around primes being Mo's, masters, alphas, apex. What did that even mean? They were 10% were masters. That's not even rare. They all just had the same eyes. I mean, it was very weak.
You can't have rarity for rarity's sake. Like, you can't. No. It has to be inherent somehow.
So, and you have to be able to recognize why it's rare. Like, all right, we're looking at this Psych, cranium here. Psych, it's not the rarest body type, but it's a more rare body type, and it jumps right out. People recognize it. There are projects where I look at them and it's really hard to tell what's going on. I want the rarity to correlate to the visual. I mean, and you can do some cool stuff. I mean, there are some craniums that have grenades in their mouths, and it's tough to see if you don't focus. But I'm like, that attention to detail, putting a grenade inside a skull's mouth is really cool. And so I'm sure there'll be people that end up collecting, you know, grenade mouths. And so, yeah, I think that it's genuine excitement on the craniums. There are some projects out there that have genuine excitement building that are going to release. And then there's stuff where it's just FOMO. And FOMO is going to get some people wrecked in a bad way. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I wanted to actually say, like, when you said, you know, the craniums dropped at the perfect time, it was Father's Day. It was literally the craniums dropped on Father's Day. And I'm like, there's no way that this project can be successful. All the dads, they're going to be barbecuing, spending time with their kids. It's not going to work. And then as we started to see that momentum in the early afternoons start building, and everyone's kind of checking each other. Like, we all agree that it's beautifully aesthetic, but then, you know, are you in? No. Are you in? No. Are you in? Maybe. Are you in? Maybe. Yes, 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 yes. Boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden, craniums just pops and it sells out. And I'm sitting there like, we have afternoon lunch plans. So I'm sitting here, do I buy 4? Do I buy 5? I end up buying 4 and I paper hand 3 of them immediately. And then I just grab my laptop and we're at this restaurant, like a patio bar, and it's Father's Day. I'm with my wife and my kids, and I'm on the laptop, literally like, do I flip this? I had a reptile with its tongue out in the VR, and I throw
the worst dad of all time, right?
Yeah,
now.
it was only like 15 minutes. Hey, if for some reason one of these creates generational wealth, they'll thank me when I'm dead. But so it's got the VR headset, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I got to focus on the kids. You know, some of these projects, they pop for a couple hours. Some of them, like craniums, have legs, like the community. This thing's not going anywhere. Halloween, as you said. But then I'm like, you know what? This could pop. I don't have time to focus on it. I threw it up for half an ETH and I dropped it, and it sold almost immediately. And the craniums are one of those projects that you like. I don't know if others do this that are collectors, but I have like a window with like 5 tabs of all my OpenSea projects that I missed out on. And it's obsessive where like every free moment I'm like, okay, what's the floor at? Is anyone paper handing? Because the craniums are one of those projects that, and I have a bad habit of paper handing. But you know, I did that. The other thing really quickly, and then I'm actually I want to ask one question, and then I'm actually gonna pop off and let y'all talk about the new projects. But what else is interesting? I think that you said it really well about, you know, apes being 2 months old, and like there are even attributes of apes, like the baby apes, the dress apes. Some of those attributes are incredibly unpopular, but they're still above or at floor, which is I think at 3.5 ETH, which is insane that a project can become so valuable that even undesirable attributes. So then we start looking at these other projects that are coming, and we look at, there's even some of the craniums which have less desirable attributes, the cats with the Trump hair. So I think what's interesting is there's 2 challenges that these projects have. Is like, one, no one's going to make a Yeti with a dunce cap their avatar. That's just silly. But 2, how do we make each of, and what I love about the apes is they are unique. If I look at my Dead Sushi ape, I can tell that it's a unique, it pops, it's got character. Your ape has character. So all these different apes have a ton of different stories to tell. And the craniums do a really good job. And they have some less desirable ones with, I think the fire hats go in and out of popularity. Some of the other, the spoons in the mouth are somewhat less desirable. And then you have other projects which are trying to just do the aesthetics. And now all of the collectibles look exactly the same. There's no real differentiation. And I think, you know, that unique factor and having wild variants is really important. And so I think that's going to impact these next wave of the 3 or 4 projects that are dropping this weekend and then moving forward. So I'm curious, you know, what projects you're most excited about. And then I'm going to listen for a couple more minutes, and I'm just going to have to hop off.
Yeah, look, you make a great point about the stratification of traits and what becomes popular and what doesn't. And some things that weren't initially popular with apes have since become more popular, more desired. And like some of that is there's one guy that buys it and people say, oh, well, if they like it, I should like it. And you see price appreciation there. You know, you mentioned the apes in dresses aren't as popular. Well, I had an ape in a dress sell for 10 ETH last Sunday. So they're not as popular, and yet people are paying a lot of money for them. And it's funny. It was an ape that Rarity had as being top 1,000. It had a dress that had the cross area. Those are two of the rarest attributes that don't get a lot of love. And I said, well, I'm not going to price it at the floor. And I actually was thinking about raising it because I said, look, I don't really want to sell this ape as it runs up, but I actually left it up, went to dinner, it sold. I was at Father's Day dinner and said, sorry, I'm getting a lot of texts. What is this? And it was people telling me, hey, your ape sold, congrats. And I was like, oh no, I feel good about the sale, but also I was going to raise it. I feel really bad. And we've all been there before. So, I don't know if that's not paper handing it. We're going to have to work on that for you.
That's not paper handing.
But you mentioned like the fire hats. Look, I didn't love the fire hat at first. I actually looked at an emerald fire hat cranium, or it was like 0.32 ETH. And I saw it. I said, where the nail is in the fire hat, it's a little off. And I moved on. And I saw that it got bought. And then about an hour later, someone bought it again for 5 ETH. So important here to remember, what one person finds appealing, someone else might not, and vice versa. And I think it's good because, you need rarity to separate. If every single ape was a gold ape with pizza or a dagger, then they wouldn't be special. And so you need to get rarity right in that there are some really rare ones that people find appealing. There should be some common ones that people find appealing. It's okay if there's a common one that people don't find as appealing. What happens is that becomes the floor, and there will be a premium that the rest command on it, and it will over time lift the floor. It happened with punks too, right? I mean, there are punks at the floor that people don't want as much. And people pay up for, say, a hoodie punk, right? Like that's really desirable. I don't think collectibles projects work if they're all priced equally. So it's a balance, and I think new projects should continue to look after that. I do think all the art should be really well done. You don't have to be as visually appealing. I don't love the spoon in the mouth as much, but it's well done. You see other projects where it's sloppy. Lines don't, match up. You get hair poking out of a hat that, like, how did that happen? Clearly there was something in the generation that didn't line up. That's something that, look, apes did the art really well. It's not 100% perfect in every instance, but by and large, they did a good job. I mean, I don't love the eyes that pop up into hats, but now I see the craniums and they pop the eyes straight out. Like they learned, they built from it. It works a little better. I'm excited about the Bulls drop. I've been watching it since before the Discord even launched because they have some really talented art from Rui. Drawing these bulls, and if anyone hasn't seen his live demos, it's really cool. The detail in there is awesome. I hope they get the rarities right. I hope it's easily recognizable. But the excitement in the Discord there seems genuine, and that people seem to really like the art. And we'll see if it builds. If too many people FOMO in who aren't in it because they find it visually appealing, or if they don't get the rarities right. I mean, bulls are not a lock to do well. I'm going to be buying bulls. Full transparency. I hope to buy as many as I can. And so many people want to buy that they actually reduced the max per transaction, I believe, to 10. And there was some talk of going lower. I hope they don't do that, because if they do go lower, I know some people get worried, oh, I'm not going to get a bull. You'll be able to get a bull if you're there for the drop, or if you buy it quickly on the secondary. There's opportunity. Don't FOMO in too hard. But if you reduce it to 1 per wallet or 1 per transaction, you're going to have some very skilled people using multiple wallets who buy tons, and you'll be left out. So look, this is one of the next projects, and we'll see what they do. It is certainly a copy of apes in certain ways, but a well-done copy is fine. And they've built on it, and they've put a lot of it. It's a high-effort project. I mean, you just look at this art here, and it's impressive. There are other projects that have copied that look nothing like this. And so, the first way to tell, is a project going to differentiate, is did it make unique art? And both certainly did. So look, there's going to be more that come up. We should talk about dogs. That's a little bit different, obviously. And people are excited about that this weekend. But there's going to be tons of other projects coming in the next few weeks. And, you got to figure out how to identify whether or not it's going to be different. There have been some projects very recently that I don't know how we address them, but they were not quite unique enough. They were not quite well done enough. We can talk if you guys want about maybe making some oversights into how the art generated. Those are red flags, and there's going to be red flags that people can find for themselves and use that as reason to avoid. I'm going to focus more on finding the projects to ape into, and that's what I advise others to do as well.
Yeah, I mean, what you said, right, about like the quality of the art being so important. When I look at bulls right now, there's already a lot of hype around bulls. There was hype around Yetis, but I think the hype around Yetis was solely because they were the next Avatar project. People missed out on cats because there were only 3,000 mints of cats versus the typical 10,000. And they had that botched drop where they had to do it early. So a lot of people waiting for cats couldn't get them. And then the cats were actually cool, which is what we're talking about. And so they were popular. So there you go. So then Yetis was kind of the natural next thing. And then Yetis got so much wrong, right? And I hate to continue to bash Yetis, but everything you're talking about, the art not being, immaculate, like there were issues with like the DSLR camera Yetis that where the DSLR cameras around the Yetis see that they hadn't put the time. There was like red light around or something like blue lines around it. It was just a disaster, right? Look at these bulls. These bulls are cool, and there's a lot going on. And I could see someone actually using these bulls as a profile pic, right? Like that's what you have to kind of look at. There's a reason why Basquiat's art is popular, because it looks good, right? It's not just because he was another artist of that time. It's because it's really cool. It's different, but it's cool. Like anybody would love to have a massive Basquiat in their house. Like that's just insane. It's an absolute attention grabber, right? So you have to keep in mind, collectibles have to look cool. Even the collectibles when I was growing up, like Pokemon and stuff, the art style is really cool. You couldn't just put out some complete BS and have it catch on. So yeah, we can talk about some of these projects now that haven't done as well. I think the one
real quick, I just want to say I'm going to hop off. But thank you, Sven. You're the GOAT. Really appreciate you spending some time with us today. Y'all take care.
No. Thanks for having me, and we'll chat later. But Pew and I will take it from here.
Awesome. Take care, guys.
See you, Malachi. So yeah, you were alluding a little bit here, and we'll get back to some of the more popular projects like the dogs and other stuff that's coming out. But you were talking about Misfit University. So this came out this week. It's had quite a bit of controversy, I guess I would say. So what's your Blink reaction to this project?
So let's do two things. First, just to pick up on your point about the Yetis. They also botched the drop. The data leaked. People were able to figure out what was rare or what wasn't. That's never good. It doesn't matter if it's a great project, right? If the craniums metadata leaked early, they looked so good and that people were excited, I think it would have been okay. But when you have a weak project and that happens, it's going to set it off on a bad path. So that was a mistake Yetis made. Look, if you're building a project, guys, protect your metadata till the drop and the images. It's not that hard. If you're not doing that, don't release. I mean, it's simple as that. Misfits had some issues on the drop. People were able to figure out some rarities. I took one look at the project and just said, look, if they do well, great, but there's just too much. I was a little bit worried about this idea of putting people into kind of different classes within a university. It just, I don't know, something seemed like it could go wrong there, and sadly it did. I don't want to go too deep into this because I do believe it was an honest oversight from the developers, and I'll give them a lot of credit. They put out an apology that I think was really sincere. They're donating a significant sum of money to charity to try to right the situation. And I don't think we need to show, the actual misfits that were the problem, but there were a number where the generative art caused situations and images that were a bit traumatic to some people. This is a project that was supposed to appeal to a more of a teen mindset, and it was just not well thought out. And that's the kind of thing that we need to try to avoid. I think that sloppiness is going to get a lot of people in trouble. This project not only got them in trouble, but it puts the whole space at risk. And we all got to be ambassadors of the space, right? I mean, this is the type of headline that doesn't help anybody. But it also, on the bright side, it helps me separate the good from the bad. And I don't believe that we should, embrace cancel culture. I don't think that the people here are bad people. I think they're good people who made an honest mistake. And I'm honestly, I think people need to learn from it, like make the space better, move on. If you're doing stuff that if you're doing generative art and there's a risk that some of the art could be in poor taste, okay, prevent that from generating. And so that's a lesson that I hope any project from here on out learns from. And for those that do learn from it, they'll be better for it. For those that don't, they're not going to succeed. So that's the takeaway here. I don't have any issue with projects struggling, because we're still building, we're still learning. And again, I think there's going to be a lot more good than bad that is developed in the coming months. But this was unfortunately a blemish on the space, because we all got to do a little bit better. To be honest, when a project like this sells out, this project shouldn't have sold out. This project is a sign that there is a bit too much euphoria in pockets of the market. And once it's sold out, there were some, 3, 4, 7 ETH sales. I mean, I feel really bad for the people that spent that amount of ETH. I hope they can afford it, because there are going to be projects that go to zero, and people have to remember that this is a project that will likely go to zero. If they can salvage it, props to the team. I will not be participating in any way. And that's, again, not me saying that the team is, doing something with ill intent. It's just, there's too much to do. And I'm not going to participate in projects that are low effort. And you're low effort if you don't make the effort to avoid a situation like this. So, I'm not going to get everything right. But I can try to focus my efforts in the projects that get as much right as they can, and I'll learn along the way. I mean, I bought some Yetis. I'm not perfect. I did exit out even, so I'm okay. But I think it's a cautionary tale what happened with Misfits, and again, props to the team. I think they handled it as well as they could. I don't think they expected what was going to happen, and they'll learn from it, and they'll all be better for it. And I really hope that they regroup, and maybe this project doesn't succeed, but maybe they can build something else that will. And people need to look. Twitter can be a vicious place. I don't want to talk about some of the nonsense going on there. Everyone here has a responsibility to be an ambassador for the space, and so don't attack people for no reason. And don't encourage people who are just spitting out hot takes for engagement, because that's not productive. Like, I want to talk about, there are good ambassadors of the space. We can talk about, there's some very well-known figures now who have apes, who are getting into other projects, who are doing projects of their own. Some of them, okay, you can say it's a cash grab and they do a project of their own. Others are really getting involved. I mean, LaMelo Ball, you can like his NFT project. You don't have to. I thought it was really cool. I got a couple myself, complimented my LaMelo Top Shot cards really well. And then LaMelo pops into the ape Discord and gets an ape, and then you see other basketball players getting apes, and that's super cool. Now you get people from other industries who want in. If you think that is going to lead to it's not going to lead to anything but more positive outcomes for the space, and that's great. So it's great to have people from outside NFTs coming in, embracing it, and it's great that people in NFTs become better and better ambassadors for the space. And I appreciate what you guys try to do in doing that. I try to do that. I know a lot of others try to do that, and block out the noise.
For sure. And, we'll get to like LaMelo Ball. We can touch upon that briefly after the dogs. Just circling back to the Misfits. I couldn't agree more with you that I don't think anything was done here with malicious intent. I think that would be like the weirdest move of all time, right? So I think it needs to be made clear. If anybody is not familiar with how one of these projects is built, they need to understand that it wouldn't be practical to literally carve out 10,000 unique pieces from scratch. So it's done with generative art. And we're actually posting an interview with someone that's been involved with generative art, Sophia Garcia of ArtX Code. Literally, we're posting that interview today. So if you want to hear more about generative art, you can check that out. But basically, these pieces are made with the assistance of software engineering so that they can be created with a certain number of traits that are mixed and matched. Some are rarer than others. And that's what allows a cohesive 10,000 piece collection to be made. So you have to keep in mind, a lot of work goes into that. And there are things you have to take into account. And when Sven was saying, a low effort project, this is what he meant is if you're going to have certain traits, you have to think about what these traits are going to look like when they start to interact with each other. And there were traits that interacted with each other in this project that were in very, very poor taste. We're not going to pull them up, but it is what it is, right? My other thing with this project that has me looking at it as something that you don't want to do is I, again, don't really think that people are going to see this and think of it as cool. So I'm not trying to be like a bully on this project. I don't want to bully the Yetis, but I just want to speak objectively about this. We have a chef right here, like a crying chef person with like body armor in a frat house. I don't know who is going to see this and say, I need that to be my profile picture. And again, I'm not trying to just destroy this project because I actually saw some that I think were a step in the right direction. The alien ones aren't bad, right? So maybe if they had taken the creativity a step further and they said, this is going to be Misfit Alien University, and then it's all aliens. That's, to me, a little bit cooler than the approach that they took. So there's so much that goes into these projects. And the other thing is Bored Apes came out 2 months ago, and that's the inspiration for all of this. Setting a project like this up and having it sell out in 2 months is it's a big time feat. And there's a lot of money on the line. Like Yeti's generated over $2 million for the creators, not even counting secondary sales. So there's a lot of money. There's a rush to get this stuff out and things can get overlooked and then you can get backlash. So that's what I think about when I think about this project.
Yeah, you're exactly right. In your characterization of what caused something to be more low effort. It's also, I think not just thinking about how the pieces fit together, but like, ignoring should certain traits not go together because they're in poor taste, but do the lines line up? I mean, you see some where like the necklines look off, or I mentioned like hair popping through a hat that shouldn't have occurred. So that's certainly things that people need to focus on. You talked about whether or not something is perceived as cool. Right now, the utility of these projects, and we should pull these guys off screen too, because nobody wants to look at them anymore. But the utility of these projects right now, for the most part, is profile pictures, community building. Everything the apes have granted the community to do beyond that, and use derivatives of their apes. I mean, like their Neon Ape Yacht Club. I mean, who doesn't want a neon sign? I passed on early on because I didn't have the ETH to do it at the time, and then he's got so much demand, prices are going up. So get your neon sign. I mean, that's like the coolest thing. You walk in someone's house and they got a neon sign up of their ape. But utility will grow beyond profile pictures. gamification. I pick your favorite video game title. Wait till they release avatars, and you can own your avatar, use your profile picture, use it in the game. I mean, if you could get your Call of Duty avatar to be your profile picture and use it, playing Warzone, that'd be pretty awesome. And that kind of stuff can happen. So there will be more. I think it doesn't have to be cool to everyone. I mean, there could be a kids version of avatars, and maybe a thing that has the vibe that I know Misfits was going for could have worked. I don't know how many children actually have the ETH to spend on it. So
exactly,
it's probably not there yet. But there will be more roles. Right now, though, if you're doing it, I mean, look, there's different people have different tastes. Not everyone has to like apes. Not everyone has to like craniums. But I bet most people in the space will like one or the other. And you guys know what looks cool, what looks edgy, what has some visual appeal, what doesn't. It's not rocket science, and people got to start there. If you're high effort, if you're low effort, I mean, again, there's like a couple Panda releases right now. Someone can release the next Panda tomorrow, and look, I hope I don't mean to demean pandas. I know that they are a vulnerable species, and we need to support pandas. Who doesn't love a good panda? But I can't tell them apart right now, and that's how you start to separate the good from the bad.
For sure. And I was about to just shut my window because my dog's barking. But back to what we're talking about,
there's only so much time. We got to talk about dogs.
Let's talk about dogs. There's only so much that we can talk about. We've already been going for almost an hour. We didn't touch upon the intellectual property ownership of all this stuff, which is really important. And we'll talk about that. And that goes in line with dogs. So, you're an ape owner. You've got dogs. The reveal is today, I believe, right?
Yep.
How excited are you? What are your thoughts on the project right now?
I'm trying to keep it cool right now. I mean, you see, I got the Casual Friday shirt on, and I'm trying to relax because we got several hours still before the release, and it's important not to get too excited. I was not home when the dogs were announced, and I knew they were going to announce something. First they did the wearable, right? They dropped every wallet owner one wearable, which I thought was really cool. And they said, that's not the surprise we have. And I said, all right, well, what's the surprise going to be? This is nice enough. And when they released Kennel Club last Friday, I rushed home to delist some apes that I had because I was worried they would sell. And sure enough, the floor rose dramatically. People were flipping, apes, but not realizing that they should collect their dogs first. And so people were buying apes to collect a dog. I collected my dogs right away. To be honest, if you didn't collect a dog, you could have probably listed your ape for a premium and sold it if you wanted to. That, lesson learned if you want to do that in the future. And I actually sold one dog at about half an ETH because I wanted to buy a nicer ape. And so I rolled that and the ETH that I had in my wallet into a nicer ape. And then, I wasn't. It was a good ape. It wasn't an ape that I loved. And so I said, let me list it at a 30% markup. And I collected the dog, listed it 30% higher. That ape sold. I said, well, I don't have the ape anymore. I should sell the corresponding dog. And that dog I sold for 1.5 ETH. So, I mean, right there, it was just, 3 free ETH that I got from that ape and the dog release, which is awesome. I kept my other dogs. Could have sold them. They're still selling for, it's crazy for an unrevealed project. The floor has moved around a little bit, but it's about 1.5 ETH right now. That's wild. And so, I think that people are excited. The floor, who knows what it'll do. We can pull a dog up for people if you want to show a sample. But maybe better to wait till the reveal because we don't know what they'll look like. There's some really cool looking ones. They're not meant to be profile pictures, which is awesome because you can't have too many profile pictures. I'm sure people will incorporate them. You'll have apes with their dogs together. People don't want to separate apes from their dogs if it matches cereal. Then other people say, well, if someone has a gold ape, they're going to look for a gold dog, right? And I think that we're going to see. I am positive. If I'm wrong, I will. I'll tell you what. If I'm wrong, I will give away a dog on Twitter. That's how positive I am. There will be a 10 ETH dog sale not long after the drop, and so that's pretty crazy to think. Here's a new project, and I wouldn't be shocked if there's a 20 ETH dog sale, but I'm not so confident. I don't want to give away my dogs, but you know, they posted some samples on their Twitter too, and they just look awesome, and people are excited, and it's just, again, giving back to the community. They didn't have to do this; they could have sold these, and I got to give these guys a lot of credit. They're not profiting off these at all. There is a modest secondary fee, and on that fee, they are donating it all to charity. And then after 6 weeks, they'll get rid of the fee. So another thing projects can get right or wrong is, you know, whether or not they have too high a fee. I mean, some of them have really high fees. Dogs have a low fee, and the fee is going to zero. So that's really cool. So people, look, it's going to be fun tonight. It's going to be fun whenever bulls drop later this weekend. Craniums are going to keep going. And you know what? Don't forget about the original apes or OG punks. I mean, you're going to see punk sales pick up, because as people get more and more ETH from their ape sales or their cranium sales, I mean, we've had some 20 ETH cranium sales. And I know some people thought, oh, maybe that's not going to age well. I think it's going to age just fine, like a nice old cranium perhaps. But that money will flow back up the ecosystem, back down the ecosystem. If you have ape money, you're buying craniums, you're buying bulls. If you have cranium and bull money that is being supported by people buying apes, you're going back and buying apes, and then maybe you buy a punk. And so, look, it's exciting, and there's more people being brought into the space. I mean, this is a really important distinction from what happened with the art bubble. And I hate using the word bubble, because the art itself wasn't a bubble. There was some really great art, and it continues to be great art. But there was a hype cycle, and that hype cycle didn't sustain because not enough new people came in. It's actually very hard to flex your art. We don't have the right visuals yet for displaying it outside of Twitter. People are still getting this right. There's some good displays. I mean, I think on a stream last time I mentioned you know, Dr. Phil Bronstein. He does some of the best displays. I love his Twitter videos, and so I'll mention him again for how to show your art. I mean, it looks so cool when you can do it right, but it's not there yet. So I continue to enjoy the art. I continue to collect the art, but it didn't attract enough new buyers to sustain the price level that it reached. On the other hand, with all these new projects that are taking off, it's growing the community. It's not just this. There's a lot of overlap between ape owners and cranium owners and what will be bull owners, but it's not all the same. There are people that don't have apes that bought craniums and will buy bulls. There are people that don't have apes or craniums and will buy bulls. And so it keeps growing this space each time. And when you got guys like LaMelo and you got other really, really well-known people stepping into the space and buying an ape, buying a punk, buying a cranium, making it their profile picture, that's only going to attract more buyers. And it's, again, there's plenty of room. There's not a lot of punks out there, right? I mean, there's not a lot of apes out there. When you think about how many people are in the world, there's just not a lot of these. And so, I mean, we will see a 100,000 generative, you know, collectibles project before too long sell out. And it probably won't do as well. You know, people won't get it right at first, but the best one will, because even that's not that many in the scheme of things. And so, you know, I don't know who will be the next potential, you know, celebrity adopter. But when they come in, if they come in for the right reasons, it will do wonders for the space. And, you know, look, I got Ape Hefner. If someone wants to come calling, the price keeps going up. All right, because if it ever sells, I'm going to buy several other apes, because I can't be without apes, and I got a couple, thankfully. So.
Yeah, I mean, it really is incredible how early we are. We released an interview this week with the CEO of Black Dove, which is an NFT display company, and I really think that people's sort of mindset shifts when they actually see the NFTs physically displayed. And I think you and me actually talked about this with Sergito on our last stream when we were all together, because it's like people don't really call out a physical painting in your house, no matter how like beautiful it is, unless it's literally like a priceless, Jackson Pollock or something. But if you have an NFT, if you have like a Whizbee gummy bear, going through its mugshot on your wall, that's a totally different thing. And as people start to understand digital collectibles and they understand it's just the same thing as physical collectibles, it's just the next generation of them, and that both can exist, we're going to see more and more celebrities, well-known people ape in, and more people with, more new money come into the space. Let's wrap with one last thought, which is in line with the Kennel Club, with the dogs and the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is the importance of allowing the buyer to own the intellectual property of the NFT. Because when I first heard this, at first I was like, okay, like that doesn't mean anything to me. And when I tell my friends about it that aren't in NFTs now, they literally say like, okay, but why does that matter, right? But as things have unfolded, it's become abundantly clear that this is an incredible, really groundbreaking feature of NFTs that is leading to such interesting creative projects that are derivatives from the creators of these projects, by the owners. So I'd love to hear what you think about that particular piece.
Yeah, look, it is changing how people consume and interpret art, right? And I'm going to use art in a generous way here, because look, there's great, truly, great art out there. But let's just focus on the collectibles for a second, and think about the broader arts. I'm excited for the Bored Ape Netflix series. I don't know if it's in development, but I'm going to watch it. And what's it going to do? It's going to pull more people into apes. I'm excited for the projects that we don't know about that will, be turned into comic books or superhero shows. And I've heard people describe the space as getting at the ground floor of Disney or Marvel, or pick your favorite IP brand. Actually, beyond even that, you have you actually have Disney, Marvel trying to get in, and they are legendary for not letting people do anything with their IP. And so you've seen some art drops that use, say, Marvel or Disney property, or DC specifically, and struggle with that. And I don't think that's going to work too well in the NFT space. I mean, I think it's cool. I'll buy some as a collectible, but I can't use it. I can't flex. If I get a Superman NFT, I can't create anything with that because they're not going to give that to me. So the future, to me, is much more about what can I own, right? We live in a culture that believes so much in ownership. What can I own? What can I build on? And so, that's cool. You mentioned what's cool as a profile pick, what's cool as a collectible project. Well, what's cool that you can actually do with it? And something that's really cool is you can build it. I love what people in the ape community are building right now. And I think you're going to see this in other projects as well. I have apes, I have craniums, I'm going to get my bulls. Maybe they'll all go together in something. I mean, they're not exclusive, right? I think that's gonna be really fun. You'll have, you remember the old like Super Friend shows or those types of cartoons. Someone's gonna make that for Super Collectibles, and we're gonna get some really cool crossover projects that I'm personally excited about, and that's awesome. So, look, I appreciate you having me on. I think there may be some one last thing we should mention briefly, if you want, but this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, likewise, Sven. Anytime, and we'll talk more about this quickly when we wrap. But yeah, we have some breaking news. I don't know if it's breaking news to the minute, but this is huge news. Jay-Z, Sean Carter, has changed his Twitter picture to a CryptoPunk. Wow,
that is, we were talking about this earlier, and this wasn't even on our minds. because we were talking about, there are some people in the space buying apes, buying punks, buying craniums, and they're big stars, right? These are big stars. LaMelo Ball is a big star. Jay-Z is a big star. I mean, how many Twitter followers, just for people's benefit? We can show the follower count on that. We got
3 million, and he's not active. If you look, he'll go a whole year without tweeting.
3 million followers. Well, I guarantee you, of that 3 million, 2.99 million are like, what is going on here? And they're not all going to get it. But of that 2.99 million, some will, and they're going to come into the space. And you know what? There are some other people that are going to follow him look, celebrities, if they come in with the right attitude, they're going to be embraced by the space, and they're going to grow it tremendously. They wield a lot of power, and I know just about everyone that's a large collector in this space, not personally, but we all know each other. It's not huge. It's going to get a lot bigger very quickly. And you know what? I have 6 of the 15 3-trait craniums. There's no 2 traits. There's 10,000 total. Those 3 traits are incredibly rare. So Jay-Z, if you want one of the rarest craniums, you know where to find me. Not going to give you a huge discount, but we can talk. All right. So.
I mean, this is incredible. It really is. Like, talk about mainstream. I've been telling some of my friends about the collectibles bull run that we're on with NFTs now, and some of them have bought NFTs at the absolute top of Nifty Gateway, and they're completely scarred and they don't believe it. But I feel like this is, some evidence that you can share to people that have that mindset where this is really, really, really for real. And for Jay-Z to get it, we talked about LaMelo Ball. I think all of the business focused, entrepreneurial, forward-thinking, always early celebrities will get to this. I'll make a call. Ashton Kutcher, if he hasn't already, I don't follow him, so I don't know if he has anything. Ashton Kutcher will get involved in the NFT space. That's my little bet.
Yeah, and you know what? Let's give some credit to some of the celebrities, for use of the term, that have been here for a while. Paris Hilton.
Yep.
I want to thank her personally for how many doors she opened up to a lot of us, because she's been in it for the right reasons. She got mocked a little bit when she did her drop, but her drop did incredibly well. It was well done. Partnered with Blake Catherine on a great drop. She posted the other day, who should I partner with next? And I, cheekily said, Bored Ape Paris Club. And Paris, suggest again. Let's do that. I think Ape Hefner could be utilized in that drop if you want. Look, there's some really, really awesome people in this space. There's some great people that are going to embrace it, and just be grateful that we're all a part of it at the ground floor of something really exciting.
For sure. Well, Sven, thanks so much for coming on. Sven is one of the Mad Pups collectors, a collective of just awesome NFT owners that have an incredible collection. So everybody definitely check it out. Follow Sven on Twitter at Sven_NFT for all things NFT collectibles right now. But this guy's a too much lag whale, so don't ignore the fine art either.
Thanks, Pio.
Thanks for coming on, Sven. See ya. My pleasure.